Pivot tables help you summarize large amounts of data, but you can always limit the data that appears by creating a filter. If the data you want to display in your pivot table fits a rule, such as all values greater than 1000, you can define that rule and use it to filter your pivot table. I'll demonstrate how to create several types of filters in this movie. My sample file is by rule 0304, and you can find that in the Chapter 3 folder of your exercise files collection. This pivot table displays the sum of all orders for 6 different categories that you see in column A. There are a number of ways that I could filter this data. The first is by label. So for example, in column A, I have my list of categories, and if I find that my categories follow a rule, I can use that to define a filter based on those labels. So I'll go to cell A3, where I have my row labels control, click the down arrow. I only have a single field, so I don't need to select which field I want to filter by. I'll move down and point to label filters, and from there I can create the type of rule that I want. So let's say that I want to only display fields that start with the letter L. So I will move to the right, and from the flyout menu, I'll click Begins With. Then in the Label Filter category dialog box, and the name changes based on the field you've selected, I'll verify that Begins With appears in the rule, and I will type a capital L and click OK. And you see that I have landscape, lighting, and light bulbs. If I want to get rid of that filter, I can press Ctrl-Z to undo it. I can also filter by value, and this is where a lot of users get tripped up. It's tempting to try to filter your pivot table by sum of total price. In fact, each of those prices is affiliated with a category, so batteries, grid tie inverters, and so on. So what you actually want to do is create a filter based on categories, but use the values associated with them. So let me show you what I mean. I'll go to, again, the row labels cell in A3, click the filter arrow, and now I will point to value filters. And here you see that I can create equals, does not equal, greater than, less than, numeric type rules. So I will move to the right to the flyout menu, and I will click greater than. In the value filter dialog, which tells me again that I'm in the right place, I will filter for categories where a sum of total price is greater than, and I'll type 1 million, which is 1 followed by 3, and then another 3 zeros. Now when I click OK, the filter is applied, and I see only those categories that have more than $1 million in sales, batteries and grid tie inverters. I'll press Ctrl-Z to undo. You can also create a lot of other type of filters, but the other one that I'll show you in detail is how to create a top or bottom filter. To do that, go back to cell A3, click the row labels controls filter arrow, point to value filters, and then from the list that appears, go all the way to the bottom and click top 10. In the top 10 filter dialog box, you can show either the top or bottom values. In this case, I'll stay with top. And then you can identify the number. So let's say that I want to do, say, the top 3 items. So in the spin control box, I'll type the number 3. I could have also used the up and down arrows to increase or decrease the value. And next, you can select whether you want to use items, percent, or sum. So click the down arrow there. I'll stay with items in this case. And I'm going by sum of total price. And I don't have any other options. I'll click OK. And there you see the top 3 items. If I wanted to change the filter, I can click the filter arrow, point to value filters, and click top 10. I currently have it as top 3. If I want to see the bottom 3, I can change top to bottom, click OK, and there we are. Filtering pivot table data helps you gain insights into your data by focusing your display on the values you want to examine. You should experiment with the many different types of filters available to you so you know which ones to use to answer specific questions about your data.